Welcome everybody to the very first Parent Hacks. Now let's just stop there and all ask ourselves and say what we're all thinking is, why Parent Hacks? What the heck is a hack? So obviously this is targeted for parents, but at the same time, maybe for you guys who are maybe mentoring or youth workers that are working with young people who maybe don't have both sets of parents, or the parents aren't really engaged in caring for their well-being and how they're raised. So this is targeted to you. A hack is basically a simple, maybe a clever solution to a tricky problem, a difficult problem, hence Parent Hacks. Right, so we're going to be very short on these videos. This is going to be 5 weeks. We're going to be covering some very tough topics to help you parents maybe start in the conversation and maybe get you to already start looking into some of this stuff if you haven't already. Maybe these videos will kind of reinforce that you're on the ball, you're doing a good job. This is in no way, shape, or form to make you feel like you're a bad parent, nothing like that. These are made to help, right? So my name is Dustin Rubio. First of all, I am a youth worker, been involved in working with young people since I was a young person myself, 18, 19 years, and I have seen youth culture from the late 90s to now 2018, and it is very different from back then. And I just want to share some of the experience, some of the things that I guess that I'm learning as I kind of, in a sense, got my finger on the pulse of youth culture, to all the shows, the different apps and all that stuff. As a youth worker, I want to know, I need to know. It helps me to communicate to them what it is that we communicate. So now, with all of our information and some of the toughest things that young people are facing with, we just want to bring to you. Don't worry, these will be short. This is just a bit of an intro, so it's a bit longer. But here we go. I'm gonna put 5 minutes on the clock and hopefully I stick to it. Ready? Here we go. Right, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is sex. It is very accessible now than ever before just because of technology. So there is a possibility, if your child has a mobile phone, a cell phone, a smartphone to be exact, and they have access to the internet, there's a possibility that they've already been exposed or heard something, or their curiosity is going now, wondering what is with this whole sex thing. Some of the exposures they might have had because of their smartphones might have been not necessarily in a picture or video, but it could be something as simple as just a text of something that they're reading, something that's very explicit. But it could be a picture. It could be, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It is very much a thing. It's a reason why here in the UK they had to make a law, like, you would go to jail, you would get in trouble. Like, it is illegal if you even have a picture of a young person that is somewhat nude. But those things will happen. They'll get passed around through schools and all types of stuff, and those are other issues that we might get into. Videos as well. I remember a good young Christian girl. This is when Facebook really started to take off, and videos and all this stuff. And then, and even like now, if you haven't changed your settings, you will have, if somebody likes something and you're friends with them, you will see what they've liked. You will see what they've been tagged in. And so there was this young girl, she was tagged by somebody in her school that, I don't know if they're a Christian or not, but they were tagged by, and there was nothing left for the imagination. Like, everything was fully exposed. Everything. So for me, it was like, without a shadow of a doubt, this young girl has seen fully what a guy would look like fully nude, because of just, not even by her choice, but just being on Facebook, being friends with somebody, they tagged her in something, could have been as a joke. It's there. What I want to do is I want to ask you 3 questions, a little quiz with 3 multiple choice answers. Now these are to help you, so before you feel like I'm patronizing you, these are really interesting questions, and I think it will get the gears going and really where youth culture is at when it comes to sex and the oversaturation through, you know, social media and phones and the privacy they might have, and what their friends, their peers might say to them. I think the first thing we need to know with youth culture and where they're at now is they are heavily misinformed. They are, when it comes to sex, they are heavily misinformed. But here we go. Ready? 3 questions. First one is, what percentage of 11 to 18-year-olds say that adults don't understand the pressure they are under to be sexually active. Now, this was all based from a nationally well-known organization called Romance Academy. And they interviewed 2,500 young people and asked them these questions. So these are the answers. Is it A, 13%? Is it B, 47%? Or is it in fact C, 81%? If you said C, you are correct. 81% of young people said they feel like adults simply don't understand the pressure that they're under to be sexually active. Let's go to the next question. What percentage of 12 to 13-year-olds have said that they have made or been a part of a sexually explicit video? That's right, you heard me correct. Are you ready? Here are the answers. Is it A, 2%? Is it B, 12%? Or is it C, 22%? If you said A, 2%, you were wrong. It is B, 12%. Still, I mean, it's not, you know, 60, 50%, but 12% of 12 to 13-year-olds have said that they've made or been a part of a sexually explicit video. Crazy, right? Last question. Now, this one is a bit of a shocker, but this will give you kind of an idea of really just the amount of crazy sexual stuff that is thrown at young people, right? So here we go. Last one. What percentage of teen boys have said that they have seen online bestiality? Now, what is bestiality, you might ask, and you might say the only thing you can think of is Beauty and the Beast comes, well, you know, you're not far off, okay? It is just sexual, I mean, not just, but it is sexual relations between a person and an animal. It's crazy, it's weird, it's out there. And these are the answers of a percentage of boys, teen boys, who've said they've seen it online. Are you ready? Here we go. Is it A, 2%? Is it B, 13%? Or is it C, 32%? The percentage of boys, teenage boys, that have said that they have seen bestiality online is C, 32%. That's a lot. That is a lot. And to be honest, you know what? I'm gonna be real with you again, because of young people. Like, one of the things I've learned working with young people is sometimes, no disrespect, but you gotta unfollow them, because sometimes they're friends with people who tag them in stuff. And you know what? I've seen it. There was a young guy, he is in church, not really, you know, I wouldn't say he's necessarily living the life he should be living. And it wasn't something he posted, but it was something he was tagged in. And it was shocking. And I couldn't scroll down fast enough to remove that from my screen. But it's out there. So what am I saying? What am I saying in these questions? I think we need to be a little bit proactive rather than reactive. I think we can approach our kids and start the conversation. I think sometimes it's the younger they are, or maybe even when they get a smartphone, I think we need to almost educate them, you know, and kind of help form the way they view sex, because sometimes they could come, especially in church, sometimes they would think of sex like it's a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing. I think we need to understand that if they are left to their own kind of devices and their friends and their peers informing them, they're going to be misinformed. And I think we need to make sure not to guess, not to just kind of assume that they're going to get the right idea of what sex is. I think we as parents need to kind of set that up for them. So, a couple of things I want to share, and then I'm done. So I think the question I think we all need to ask ourselves who have kids is ask ourselves, start with this question. What do I want my children to know about sex as a result of living in my house? Right. Few things, and then that's it. I feel like we should have our kids know that, first of all, that God created sex. Sex isn't bad within its context, within marriage. It is a great thing, but it's got to be within the right context. They're going to be curious about it. I think we need to establish is that this is a good thing. God created it. The second thing is we want them to know that they can talk to us. They can talk to their parents. And I think first thing I would suggest, and this is not an easy thing, and I learned this lesson I think when my son was maybe about 4 years old and he started going to school, 5 years old, started going to school, and some of the things he would say about school and some of the stuff they did, they weren't bad. It's just I had to make sure I had some self-control not to overreact. Because if they say something and they're trusting I'm not going to overreact, if I overreact, that's it. They might not ever come and share things with you. Now, that's not to say that you can't be a parent, you cannot be upset or anything like that. I think it's just a bit of wisdom in that we make sure that we are treading lightly on our reactions, that we don't overreact, and then that's it. They lose trust that they can come to us, but I think we want them to know while they're in our house that they can come talk to us. Third thing is that they know that porn isn't real sex. I mean, the number one answer that young people have given when they were asked, who do you go to? What do you do when you have a question and you want an answer? They all went to Google. That was the number one answer. At that point, they're learning through school, through friends, through media, different things. And I think we want them to know they need to learn within our house that porn isn't real. That it isn't real sex. But yeah, so anyways, next thing, that they need to learn in our house that their body is private, okay? It is private. It is not for everyone else to see. It is not, you know, they should respect themselves and the pictures they take, the pictures they share, or what other pictures people would want to take of them. But they need to know that their body is private. The next thing they should learn while living in our house is that sex is worth waiting for. Sex is meant for marriage, and it is worth waiting for. I think another thing they could learn by living in our house is that something that is so empowering for them is that they understand that they can think for themselves. And that's not necessarily that they don't want to take on our values or learn from us, but it's more about their peers. It's more about their friends in school, that they can think for themselves. So so-and-so might want to sleep with so-and-so, so-and-so might want to send pictures to so-and-so, but that they can think for themselves based on the values that we're sharing. And the last thing we want them to learn while living in our house is that even if they made a mistake, that they understand it's not the end of the world. You know, God's grace is unlimited and He's forgiving, and as much as it might hurt or disappointment might be there, we need to be forgiving, and we need to continue to help, support, educate, equip our children and empower them to you know, make the right decisions. So my time here is done. Hopefully I stuck to the time, probably didn't, but hopefully this was worth your time. So this is Parent Hacks. I'm Dustin Rubio. This is the first episode. We got a few more to come out. And so just to recap, engage with your young people, with your child about sex, the conversation about sex, and the things maybe we need to think about, maybe all the things I listed off of the things that we should have our children learning while in our household. You might be able to add a few that are better, and if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, leave a comment if you feel like, oh, this would be good as well, you know, if they learn this while in the household. Or maybe you're watching this and kids are all grown up already, have kids of their own and stuff, then you can still say, oh, if I would go back, this is what I would do, you know, because we could all learn from that. So anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Like it. If you're watching this on Facebook, share it. If it's on Facebook with somebody you feel like they could benefit from this. And we'll see you next time.
Listen.